The movie we are going to be analyzing is The Dark Knight, Batman. In this movie, Batman, Lieutenant James Gordon, and the new district attorney, Harvey Dent, successfully dismiss crime in Gotham. Although once this begins to happen, a new criminal mastermind who calls himself the Joker creates a whole new set of issues for Gotham. Batman's struggle against the Joker becomes personal to him and begins to make him face everything he once believed, and advances technology to catch him. All while this is going on, a love triangle is created between Bruce Wayne, which is Batman, Harvey Dent, and Rachel Dawes. If you've seen any Batman movie, Batman has no real powers except for his brain. But even some of his inventions and crazy heroic actions do not obey the laws of physics. We've made this video to completely tear this movie apart for its inaccurate, even if it's made up gadgets and stunts, physics application.
We all know Batman's infamous wings that are brought to life by memory fiber that is activated by an electrical current. I haven't found any proof that this is actually a real thing that somebody's inventing or developing, but I'd like to go along and make assumptions about what the fiber is like and how it works. So obviously for this demonstration, we're going to assume that there's no hinges on the wings, which would relieve some force off of Batman's arms in this case, and that Batman is taking all the force on his arms and he has to use his own strength to handle all the weight. As supported by Newton's third law, for Batman to fly, when he puts his arms out, he has to exert the same force back on the air that the air exerts on him, which means that he has to hold the weight with his arms of the force. You're going to use the circular motion he does before he even starts flying anywhere to find the force that are on his arms. Here are our knowns. These are the things that we know and the basic facts that we have. The next thing that's going to be coming is the equation that we're going to be using. With the finding that we've gotten from our equations, it shows that there's about 1,700 pounds of force on Batman's arms. That's a shared force between both arms. So you have to do about 850 each arm to exert the force back on the air, which is basically impossible and definitely debunks the wings that are used in this movie. If the correct physics were applied in this scenario, it would honestly just mean that Batman would have to find another way of flying around and getting into places and saving people. Probably a taxi or something like that, or the Batmobile. In this next scene that we're going to be analyzing, Batman goes to catch and save Rachel Dawes after the Joker throws her off of the roof. Now, we're just going to face the facts here. It's physically impossible to catch somebody after they've already fallen off the roof and you're about to go jump for them. But we're going to ignore that for the sake of this and just think about their impact, as they landed perfectly fine and unscathed on a car, and that doesn't make any sense to me at all, just because of the force that is going to be happening, and also the time that it took was very inaccurate, so time to debunk that. Here we have our knowns. These are everything we know about the situation and just some things that I gathered from the internet and some other outside sources aside from the main article that I read about this. The next thing that's going to be coming is our equation that we use to figure out how much force that they would hit the car with, and then there's going to be a few other things we have just to back up our claim that this is physically inaccurate and just isn't going to happen. Last, but not definitely least, is our findings that we found when using our equations to figure out if this was accurate, and it definitely wasn't. They wouldn't have been able to stand up like that when they were falling, and especially land like that. A lot of bones would have been broken, and there might have been a death. So obviously this wasn't physically accurate, and it definitely needed some work. These next few clips are going to show how we did our plot revisions for this scene and just us remaking the scene in general with our kind of props, so it makes a little more sense. But obviously the timing is going to be a little different and it's going to be a lot quicker, and they're actually going to fall flat and die, because obviously them falling straight down and being completely unscathed is completely unreal. And another thing to think about after we had done our findings and everything is that not only the force that they hit the car with, but the fact that the ground, that I imagine that they went through the car, and that's what it seemed like. They had gone right through the car front. So they also had to think about the force that the car exerted back on them, on top of the force that they went down. So obviously there's a lot to debunk here. The obvious and blatant plot revision for this would have been that Batman and likely Rachel also would have been dead. So the movie wouldn't have really had another plot unless they introduced another character to fill in for Batman. But honestly, it's a good thing they didn't do this physically accurate, or they would have made no money in the theater. But again, I just wanted to say that this is very physically inaccurate, and you can't jump off a building and catch somebody and live and try to land on your feet. Not a good idea, especially when it's 150 meters tall.
So our video is basically telling you that you cannot be Batman. So to those of you who had really high hopes or really big dreams, being Batman isn't physically possible. Batman doesn't have any real superpowers. All he really has going for him is a strong hatred and an impressive will. So sorry to those of you that had dreamed of being Batman when you grew up. It's not possible. Although if one of you happens to beat the laws of physics and somehow ends up being Batman, get back to us and let us know how you did it. So thank you all for coming to my TED Talk. That's everything.